Welcome to episode 7 of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. This week we have Cameron, our second guest ever on the podcast. We have a lot we got to talk about this week. I don't even know where to start. We're going to talk about some favorite events, some favorite moments in fantasy football that we've had in this league, maybe in some other leagues. Ben and I, we're going to break down Cameron's team since he is a guest this week. We got week 5 predictions. Ben and I will break down. Cameron's going to also throw in his 2 cents. Ben and I, we're going to start sharing our fantasy football power rankings, our top 3, with who we think is currently projected and on their way for last place. I'm also going to go over some fun facts in the league and just off and on. We're going to have Cameron interject, share his thoughts, feedback, tell us if we're dumb, smart, however you want to call it.
You would never.
Some geniuses.
Some geniuses? Yeah, I mean, if you want to call us geniuses, that's great, Cameron. I'll take it. I could use a win. We all know my record's not too great. So,
Let's
quick.
get into it.
Yeah, we're gonna get right into this. I'm gonna get started right with some fun league facts, just as to where we are at today. Right now, no one in the league is undefeated. There are 2 teams that are 0-4. There are still 2 teams that have $100 left in their fab budget. That's Ryan and Mark and Taylor. There's 1 team that spent more than half their budget. That's Clark. Josh, who is 0-4, has scored more points than 2 teams that are currently 3-1. And that is Andrew and Clark. And then an interesting fun note. Some people will like this, some people will hate it. 4 out of the top 6 teams in the league at the moment have won a championship already. So there's only 2 in that top 6 that have not won a championship. Will this be the year that the rolling pot gets paid out? I don't know, but we're going to break down these fun facts. We got a lot going on. Cameron, I want to start with you as a guest. First, welcome. What are your current thoughts of this league this year so far?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The fact that there's no undefeated teams. I can't remember a time that we're already to this point. Running backs are hard to come by.
Yeah.
And injuries, it seems like every year we say injuries are the worst they've ever been. And it feels like that again.
What would you say you're most surprised about this year so far?
Most surprised about how low scoring games are.
Yep.
We've been going in a direction of higher scoring year after year, and it just feels like this year, I'll just pick on the Bengals. The Bengals scored 3 points twice now.
I'm ready to give up on that team.
Well, sure. And, it's funny, I say low scoring, and we had a 70-point week team a couple weeks ago, but still, it feels like, at least if I think about my team, my fantasy team, I just feel like I'm struggling to get any points. And every point that I get is like a grind, it feels like, to get them. So I feel like years before everybody was getting bonuses, touchdowns, and this year it doesn't feel that way.
It does seem different this year. I can't quite put my tongue on it as to why. I guess really just the quality of play. I don't really know what else to put to that. Yeah.
Well, I'll jump in
but
there.
I know what you mean.
I'll jump in there and I'll say that looking at our fantasy league, when we're looking at the matchups for all these teams at the end of the week, looking at the final scores, I feel like overall we are not scoring as high as we used to, which is interesting because we have actually made changes to the league to try and increase the scoring. And it seems like this year it's just that much harder to come by. Obviously the running back stuff this year is making things a little bit more difficult, but I think just overall, I don't think we're getting some of the high scores or high performances that we normally do. I will point to a certain Chiefs player who I think is vastly underperforming right now, not only as a professional football player, but in his dating life as well.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about what are they calling him, Mr. Pfizer?
Yeah, Mr. Pfizer. Yeah, we could call him that. He's dating Trailer Swift, as you may have heard. So, yeah. So, I think that there's definitely something to it this year that our scores aren't as high as they used to. I particularly have to say I'm a little underwhelmed at a certain kicker from Baltimore who just seems to only get extra points instead of actual field goals. Not happy about it.
I dropped my kicker this week, Ben.
Are you going to play
I
without a
changed it
kicker?
up.
That's the Orscheln method.
I'm considering it. So, all right. Two teams completely defeated, have not won. We got Little Josh and Steve.
Yep.
I know, real quick, 2 cents, not to pick on Steve, but his team is worse than Little Josh. Little Josh's team, I think he's getting some bad luck. It's not great. But man, Steve is in the struggle bus at the moment. I feel for him
Yeah.
because I think I'm right there with him.
Yeah. Steve's too good of a player, I feel like, to stay defeated. But yeah, I mean, he knows it. I think if he was sitting here instead of me, he'd say the same thing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's rough right now for Steve. We're only 4 weeks in. That helps. I think Steve will be all right. It's just, yeah, it's rough for Steve.
Yeah.
I'll say on Steve's team that when I look at that, I also kind of get the feeling like maybe there's some injuries has affected everyone, but I think there's also that caveat to Steve's team where some teams just aren't clicking or meshing yet. I think the prime example for him is Chris Olave, wide receiver, brand new quarterback. They got a new coach in New Orleans, so I think that some of it is just hasn't been figured out yet. Though I will say I really love his quarterback right now. Really enjoying some CJ Stroud. I am 100% on the CJ Stroud bandwagon. I'm there. I'm here for it.
Yeah, with only 4 games into the season, I mean, if you're sitting at the bottom, either 0-4 or 1-3. I mean, really, if you're 1-3, you're only 2 games back right now. But 0-4, you're 3 games back. You're fighting, or at least you're looking at like, okay, maybe I could still get into the bottom part of the playoffs, get a 5th or 6th seed,
Yep.
and then climb it from there. Because it is 2 seasons. You make the playoffs, it's basically you start all over. And then it's whoever gets hot at the right time. And we've seen that over the past couple of years. Just particular teams get hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Orscheln.
I'd rather not.
So, yeah, no. So, this year, or at least at this point in time, there's 2 teams out of the 12 that still have $100 in their fab budget. And there's 1 team that has spent over half of their fab budget. I know last year, I think, if I recall correctly, we ended the year and there's 2 teams that did not spend their fab budget at all. Taylor was one of those, but Ryan and Mark was not. Drew was the other team that did not spend his fab budget. And, man, right now he's in first place. And he spent, looks like $15 in his fab budget. But he's only had 2 moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
2
spent all
moves.
15 this week. Yeah.
Yep.
I am known for making a lot of moves. I love the fab system. I think it's the best thing we have done as a league in maybe since the conception of it as far as rules go. Um, and again, this year is kind of interesting in the fact that I can't spend money on players. I don't know what the deal is.
You right now. So first 2 things, I would agree. I think the fab budget is one of the best things we've implemented into the league, and I think that really started becoming a thing a handful of years before we adopted it, but I think it's one of the best quality of life changes we've made for the league.
Yep.
But yeah, Cameron, I'm looking here. You already have the most moves in the league. Do you know how many you've
Oh,
had?
really? No, I don't. I didn't think I was, but yeah, I don't know how
So
many.
yeah, you've had 21 moves.
Yep.
21 moves. Guess who's the next closest?
Steve.
Steve. Yep, it's always you
Yep.
two.
I know.
It's you two. It is every time. Every time.
And then you've made 21 moves and you've only spent $4 out of your waiver budget.
Well, okay, let me defend myself a little on that. So I tried to spend money this week. I put $6 in on uh, that wide receiver from Arizona, Michael
Yep.
Wilson, I think. Put a $6 bid on him. Michael spent $6, got him, had a higher waiver priority than me, so I lost out on him.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put $5 in on Detroit's defense, and I think little
Is little
Josh
Josh.
put five
Yep.
bucks on them, has a higher waiver priority than me. So I was fully expecting to spend $11 this week, and spent none. So
Yep.
uh, I guess I'll just hold out until I want to drop 60 on somebody.
So, next fun fact I want to talk about real quick, because I think we've all been in this position at one point in time, or at least we could think of memories of whenever we've been like this. So, little Josh, 0-4, yet he has more points than two people that are currently 3-1. Now, looking at it, I don't think little Josh is in the actually looking at. I know he's not in the top 6 in points scored, but have you guys ever been in a position like this? And then how frustrating do you find it? Do you find it more frustrating that you see your team at a losing record, or do you find it more frustrating that there's teams that are worse than yours, arguably worse than yours, yet they're easily in playoff contention at the moment?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I honestly don't look at other teams. It bothers me so much more that I would be 0-4 than somebody has a 3-1 record and has 100 less points than me. I'll be completely honest. I don't I don't think points for tells the whole story of teams. I think especially 4 weeks in, when you just look at points for it, if you have one big week in 4 weeks, it really skews it. And even season long, it skews it. We have teams all the time that score, maybe not this year because we're not scoring a lot of points, but they'll score 150 1 week and then 80 the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have other teams that score 110 to 120 every week. And even though that might end up the same points for at the end of the year, I would much rather have the team that is the 120 range every week. But that's
Yep.
just how I play. A lot of people would say the opposite is true. They'd rather have big blow up weeks, and then I'll take the L uh, when my team does bad. So I think Josh's team is great. I don't know why it's 0-4. Um, yeah, but to answer the question, I don't look at other teams. I don't care what other people's records are. I don't care how many points they had. I just care about what my record is, and that's it, because that's all that matters to get to the playoffs.
Dude, I tell you, knowing that rolling pot could get paid out this year, I'm definitely looking at other people's records.
Sure.
Um, so, oh man, I had a thought. Oh, what would you say is a good week, point wise? Like if you were to measure what you would consider a good week of fantasy football, how many points would that be?
I'd say good is 120, great is 135 and higher.
So you'd say good is 120. So if a team exceeds their projected score, I'm not seeing projected scores really north of 105, except on
Yeah.
like week 1, or I think
Yep.
Drew had 107 this past week. But would you say that exceeding your projected points is a good week?
I guess, yeah, I mean you have to define good. I guess I think of good as what's the threshold that I should win 80% of the time. And to
Yep.
me, if you score 120 in this league, you should win 4 out of 5 weeks if you score 120.
I would agree.
So uh, that's
Yep.
why I picked 120. And then anything above 130, 135, you should really win.
It really should lock you in if you're getting upwards of 130, 140. If you're not winning with that, then it means both teams just played out of their minds. Like, there's no way around that.
Yeah, and that happens.
What about you, Mitch?
I mean, so I look at my team, really, if I exceed my projected points, then it's like, okay, that's great. There's some players that I think that they should be scoring more than what they're projected. But if my team exceeds their projected score and they score north of 100, especially this year, it's like they did their job. Now, if they score more than 110, that's my threshold. If I hit 110 and lose, so be it. I had a good week. That's just luck of the draw. If I score 130 and lose, it's like, okay, I like
Yeah.
really with those, like I don't get too mad. Not like Orscheln, for example. He gets pretty salty on that. Me, it's like, yeah, that sucks, but there's nothing more I could have done. Like, it's out of my control. My team showed up. I can't help that someone's defense scored 40 points this week. I mean, you can't predict that. Like, losing to somebody that scores 150 or 160 whenever you score 130, you can't predict those losses. It is what it is. So, I don't know. Like, I would rather lose like that than lose 62 to 64. Those are frustrating because it's like, man, I lost. And my team didn't even have to really show up. They just had to somewhat show up and I would have won.
Yeah.
So,
And maybe I would say what makes me the most angry would be just the differential. Like you said, that when I lose, it doesn't matter if I score 130 or 60. It's if I lose by one.
oh.
You know, I really don't care if I scored 60 or if I scored 100. If I lose by one, that's more frustrating than if I scored 130 and my opponent scored
Yeah.
160. That doesn't bother me very much.
I will say that we are this far into the season now, so 4 weeks in, my team is at 2-2, and if you go look at the matchups, you will see that my two losses are both to teams where their defenses played out of their minds and scored 30 plus points, both of them. So that is, to me, it's not a true indicator of whether my team's good or not. It just tells me that they got really lucky that day with their matchup. Really good days. So it's not that I look at the other team and go, oh, yeah, they're definitely better or I'm just so much worse. I think with fantasy football, you do try to take matchups into consideration when you're doing these things, but it's the Orscheln effect whenever he says there's no strategy in drafting kickers. So sometimes you just get lucky. Because Dallas will have a 30-point fantasy day one day, and then they'll go play the Cardinals another week and get their butts handed to them. You can't predict everything. So, I don't put a whole lot of stock in the points for, points against. It's just a measurement. It's not a true indicator of whether your team is actually playing well.
Uh-huh.
Shut up,
I will
Mitch.
say, Ben, I think your team is better than what your record shows. You have had just some bad luck on some weeks.
Don't worry, it's going to change.
Last fun fact, real quick. So I mentioned there's four of the top 6 teams have already won a championship. How are you guys currently feeling? Cameron might be a little biased here, but how are you guys currently feeling that we won't have league reset this year? Statistically, clean slate, record draw 0-0, whatever. There's only 33% chance that we have a rolling pot payout this year. But with how we currently see this league playing out this year, or this season rather, do you guys think rolling pot's going to get paid out?
Mitch, I'm actually going to jump in here because I want you to name the 4 teams that would actually be in there, because I think that is very much a factor into this question.
So we have Mickey B, Cameron, AJ, and Orscheln.
All right, so now that you said that, I can explain my stance on this, which is, yes, there are 4 teams that are potentially in a position to force the changeover, to force the league resets. Those 4 teams, I can safely say that 2 of them have 0 chance of forcing the league reset. Now, one of them is because it is run by Andrew Orscheln, who will not be able to repeat what he did last year. Andrew, I'm calling it now. You are not going to win the league this year. It's just not going to happen. AJ, I love you. I also do not believe you have a chance to win the league this year. I think that both of you might be playoff contenders, but I do not think that either of those teams is going to be there when we get to the championship. They may, let me revise that. They may make it to the championship. They will not win the championship. But I will make that prediction now that I really don't think they have a shot of winning the championship this year. So, statistically speaking, in my mind, I think there's 2 teams that could force the league reset. I think you're out of your mind if you think that Cameron's team never has a shot of doing it. How many years in a row have we had this discussion about Cameron's team forcing a league
Usually
reset?
it's every other year he's in the fight.
Exactly.
But last year he kind of broke that, right? Wasn't that 2 years in a row that you didn't do too good?
It was 2 or 3. Yeah, it's something
So
like that.
I think it was two in a row. You didn't have that great, but you're definitely in the fight this year. You got one of the better teams.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah, I think the pot goes on after this year. I don't think we hit league reset. Uh, we'll talk about it a little later. Who we think is the best teams in the league, and I I think I disagree with Ben on a couple of those. So
Well, I mean, yes, I'll give you that. AJ has a good team. But if you expect me to go say that Orscheln's team is going to repeat, no, I will. You know what? Drew told me that he would like for me to make some more outlandish bets. This is one of those things, okay? I'm willing to make an outlandish bet on the prediction that Orscheln will not win the championship this year. Drew, hit me up, give me some ideas on this. I'm willing to put the wager on this one. So you guys weigh in this week, and we'll talk. And there can be a punishment if I am wrong in this, but I'm quite sure I will be correct in this.
All right, clip it.
I'm just saying, sometimes we need a little controversy, and I'm here for it. But yeah, it's kind of like me saying, yeah, the Raiders could win it all. No, I don't think so, guys. Sorry, Andrew. It ain't happening.
So I'll say this about the rolling pot. I have a feeling that there's going to be more people in the playoffs that have already won than haven't. Whenever it comes to week 6 or week 15, 16, and 17. Looking at the league, I mean, right now Drew's team is solid. Ben, your team is solid. Outside of that, I don't know who else is going to be in the fight right now. If Lil Josh's team turns around, which I don't think it will, Lil Josh's team is fine. I don't think it's great.
I think you're wrong on that.
So it's, I don't know. I'm just looking at the other teams that could be in the fight. Ben, you find a way not to win. At least I've seen you get 4th repeatedly. And Drew, I said he had the worst team at the beginning of the year, but he's proving me wrong every single week. So it might get to the point where I'm rooting for him, which I'll definitely be rooting for Drew if that's what it comes to. Steve, make a comeback. I want you to win, buddy. or better yet, my team starts turning around and winning. That'd be ideal, right? But all right. Real quick, because we're already diving deep on time. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. We're gonna do some quick power rankings, top 3 teams in the order that you believe. Ben, I will start with you.
Do I have to?
I'll go first. That's fine.
I think I
So,
enjoy this more whenever I get to naysay somebody. So
you get an essay. So,
yeah.
my power rankings, and I'm not just saying this because Cameron's on here, but I do have him at 1. And then after that, I have Drew, then Mike. But these are all close. Like there's no distant between 1, 2, and 3. I can make an argument for these being interchangeable. But I do think with how the rankings currently are in the league, these are the best 3 teams in the league. I think Ben, I have an argument that you should be at 4. But right now, my top 3 would be Cameron, Drew, and then Mike.
I'll agree with you on some of this. So, I am in complete agreement that Cameron's team is number 1 for me. I think that it's well rounded. I think it's kind of consistent. I think Cameron's team just kind of produces on a regular basis, and I think that it's a credit to Cameron not just for a good draft strategy, but I think Cameron, more than any of us, really understands how to play the waiver wire. And I really think that is why his team is always competitive. Injuries is usually the biggest factor into whether Cameron's teams are successful on the season or not. Yeah, it feels kind of dirty saying it, but I got to give it to Drew at number 2. Drew, your team has come on a lot stronger than I would have expected. So, yeah, kind of forcing us to eat some words. I respect that. It was a little smash mouth football from Drew, and I'm kind of here for it. I will never do something as filthy as saying that Mike's team is good. So Mike's team is not number 3 for me. Instead, I'm going to go and be the cockiest badass that we know and say number 3, he's sitting right here. He just needs a little more time. He's got that Travis Kelce swagger right now, but minus the T Swift. I'm going to bring it in hot, boys. Just wait.
Cameron, who's your top 3?
Well, completely different. Surprised to hear you guys say, both of you saying me at 1. That is surprising to me. I think number 3 would be Ryan and Mark. I think number 2 is Orscheln, and I think number 1 is Lil Josh.
Wow.
I think those are the 3 best teams in the league.
So I can give you the Little Josh thing because I think we both agree that team is way better than it has been showing. And I will say that a certain Little Josh, he you know how he does this thing where he texts people and asks them who to play or what do you think of this matchup? Well, this past Sunday, a certain chicken farmer from Sedalia texted me and woke me up while I wasn't really feeling too hot. Woke me up because he needed to know who to play between, I think it's 3 guys: Raheem Mostert and oh gosh, who else was it? It was
Michael Pittman.
Yep,
Javonte,
Michael Pittman, and then nope, it was not Devon.
Raheem,
It was
A-Chain.
Javonte. Yeah, it was Javonte, Pittman, and Raheem Mostert. And I said, well, if I have to pick between those 3, Josh, he said, pick 2. I said, I guess I'd take Pittman because, the Colts have to do something. And I said, and if Javonte is ever going to do anything, then I thought it would be that matchup. Now, clearly, both of them really did not have good weeks. But as I told Josh later that day, I said, Josh, if you would have told me that you had Miami's other running back on your roster, I would have told you to start him. I've told him several times that by week 8, that will be the starting running back. I even called him this year's Isaiah Pacheco. Little Josh, this is your shaming right now. Start paying attention to the running backs. I know you're a wide receiver guy. Start paying attention.
He asked me the same question this week, Ben.
Me too. So I will say real quick, I am surprised that neither of you had any of the three that I picked in your top three. And just to pick on one, I'll pick on Orscheln. Other than quarterback, I think Andrew's team is great. I think quarterback's the only struggle that he has.
I
Might have the
disagree,
best.
actually.
Yeah, well, then you click
Well,
on his team
Well,
real
we're
fast.
gonna get into matchups here soon. Well,
All
I'm
right, yeah,
sure
let's
yeah,
do that. Let's do
Ben
that.
will
Let's do that.
will wreck his team.
yeah.
Then,
I'll pick on it
I'm
then.
here for you, Andrew. I'm here for you.
to be fair, I've been picking Andrew to win his matchups too, barely.
Maybe that's the
I
problem.
feel dirty. Oh, that I have the magical power, being like whoever I pick to think is gonna win is gonna work.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess I should have picked myself to win last week because I did pick myself to lose and I got stomped. Well, maybe I'll pick myself to win this week. So, okay. Projected last place. Who is going to be doing the last place presentation next year?
Taylor.
You give it to Taylor.
Yeah,
It's so hard. Yeah, it's hard for me to pick Taylor just because he has Justin Jefferson. Um, as it stands now, Steve has the worst team right now. But again, I just feel like Steve is too good of a player to end up in last. But I think I'll say Steve.
Sorry, Steve. I'm saying it too.
Don't worry,
It'll
Steve.
probably
I
be
got your
against
back.
Taylor. So, all right. We're going to get into week 5 match predictions. So, as always, we're going to start with Cameron's matchup first. We're going to start from the bottom, work our way up. So, here, as always, Cameron does not have a kicker. I'll go ahead and lead this off here, Ben. Cameron doesn't have a
I
kicker
don't have
here.
to say anything. We all know who I'm going to pick.
I know. Cameron doesn't have a kicker. Currently, Taylor has a player in his lineup that is projected 0 points, so we could argue that he might get to 90. I mean, I think one of the reasons why Taylor is doing good, or doing what he is doing, Richardson's been a pretty big thing for him at the moment. So that is going a good way for him. Justin Jefferson, I mean, he's a baller. The Garrett Wilson, losing Aaron Rodgers, that was a gut punch for him. So we'll see. Maybe Zach Wilson, reborn, could get him some points there, but the rest of his team, I don't like. I just don't. Cameron, I'm going to explain real quick why your team is the best in the league. Lamar Jackson, whenever he performs, great. I think any given week he's could be a home run hitter for you. The Devontae Adams was, in my opinion, like, I saw that trade. I was like, great. This is not something that Cameron needs. I mean, you needed it, but I thought that was a good trade for you. Christian McCaffrey, good gravy, dude. Like, I think he's gonna run out of gas some, but if he doesn't, there's no reason why your team isn't going to be in the fight. Jamar Gibbs, he'll pick it up some. I think he'll start getting you more points later in the year. Montgomery's going really hard right now and playing very good football at a running back. That's why he's just getting all the touches. Mark Andrews, this Wombo combo. I mean, weeks that those guys connect, it's tough to beat. Dobbs, I'm okay with. I mean, I think that's good for a flex spot. And then kicker, you play matchups. If there's one thing on your team I don't like, it is the defense. You're playing Denver, so that is a good pick there. But after they lost Aaron Rodgers at QB, I think your defense took a hit indirectly because there's just more pressure on them. Otherwise, I loved your defense. So, Cameron, you'll win this week, north of 100 points.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will say the devil's advocate argument. Justin Jefferson obviously can do a lot of damage, and uh, I am worried about Richardson. I think he is probably going to score about 30 points against Tennessee, but as strange as this year is, the one thing I know for sure is that Denver gives up points to everybody, and he has
Mm-hmm.
Brees Hall, who is no longer on a pitch count, and Garrett Wilson against Denver. I hate that I have to go against Taylor when he has two players that go against Denver. I absolutely hate it. So I don't I don't think I run away with it by any means. I think it's going to be close. I think all the matchups are close. I don't. Yeah, I I'm gonna be close. I don't want to pick. I picked Taylor. Taylor's gonna win.
I'll go ahead and just say I'm picking Cameron, and it's simple. Christian McCaffrey. I think that's your big difference maker every time. But I also, Cameron makes a good point about the matchup against Denver. Yeah, this is a great chance for the Jets to really come out after that game against Kansas City where they seem to find some tempo. Justin Jefferson can never be discounted. I do like what I see from Anthony Richardson. But again, I'm going to point to a weakness of the roster that I think, and that is that I think Taylor's team doesn't have depth in there either. He's forced to play Damian Harris as a starter this week. Pat Fryermuth is doubtful, probably not playing. And I will continue my hatred on Gabe Davis. I just do not think that he's a solid player. He's all over the place. He had 4 points week 1. He had 13 points this week. I still beat you, Taylor. So I just don't think it's there. I think it's too reliant on certain things. He's banking on the Jets having a good game, and then he's always banking on Kansas City with the kicker and the defense. His big saving grace in the past couple weeks has been Justin Herbert and Kenneth Walker. They're both on buys, so I don't think this is his strongest team that he can put forward. I think this is a decent team if you're forced to play with buys, but this is not his strength this week. Week 5 is not going to be a great week for him.
All right.
That's simple, boys.
Drew versus Little Josh.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Do I get to go first on this one? I feel like I should go first.
Get it.
All right. So let's go ahead and break this down right now. When you look at Yahoo's matchup, these guys are basically a point apart in their projections. And I think that that's beautiful, especially with
to
the
be
fact.
fair, Little Josh
Yes.
does not have. He has Stas Metcalf in his lineup, so
Little Josh has not changed his bench. So this is where I get to go ahead and say, JP, he's fucking getting it this week. Pardon the French. I'm sorry. I don't want to swear, but Josh is getting it this week. It's going to happen. This is the week. You got Jalen Hurts against the Rams. Jalen Hurts is going to be ready to show off a little bit. The Cincinnati Bengals, maybe this is the week they finally put together, but you got to think Jamar Chase is going to be like, guys, get me the ball. He had that comment last week about I'm always open. Yeah. He ran his mouth. You got to put it up now. He made his comment. They have to make an effort to get him the ball. Bijan Robinson in Atlanta against Houston, solid. You know that little Josh is not going to play Javonte Williams against the Jets. Why? Because he's got to play Miami's running back. Devon, Achane, I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't care anymore. You got to play him. You have to play him. So the numbers are going to shoot up. Let's be honest. The numbers will shoot up. And Josh found a little bit of a gem when he went and got Ferguson as his tight end. I think you're going to start seeing little Josh start turning it around right now.
So I'm going to keep this pretty simple. Dallas is going to get stomped by San Fran. Dallas does not have a great offense. Drew is heavily reliant on the Cowboys. He has a QB and a running back from that team.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he changes his quarterback up, I'm sorry. Dak is going to probably fumble the ball, throw a couple interceptions. He's not going to have a good day. In San Fran, yes, Dallas has a good defense, but whenever your offense is going to struggle, their defense won't keep up. And I think San Fran will just punch him in the mouth. They're playing at San Francisco.
Heard him, Drew.
So with that, with Josh's team, the reason why I don't think why little Josh has a top team, his team is streaky. Sorry, the Jamar Chase, that's going to be a streaky player all year. I've seen enough out of Cincinnati. They're not going to turn it around unless they literally bench Burrow and let him get fully healed for him to perform. I just don't think Cincinnati's going to be in the fight this year, and that's gonna hurt Josh's team fantasy wise. Jalen Hurts, you're going to get what you get with him. Bijan Robinson, I'm still not a fan of that pick. Now he did get I'm not third. So that was still too risky pick.
Would you have
he's a
taken
great player.
Eckler, who's on Steve's IR bench right now?
I think Eckler. Well, if you look at record wise, it doesn't really matter. They're both 0-4. I think Eckler, once he's back, is going to be more dominant with points, and will be in the fight more so than Bijan Robinson. That's just my gut. Running back, I mean, yeah, he did get he got that Miami back. If he stays healthy and whatnot, great. Honestly, I'm a fan of Pittman this year. I think Colts are doing good. Pittman, you're getting what you would hope from Pittman, and you're getting consistent weeks out of him. Josh will win this week, but it's going to be more so that Drew is just not going to perform. You can already see Drew took out Dallas's defense.
Oh yeah, that's easy move there.
But
Drew, I'm telling you right now,
never
Drew.
mind. He's playing the Giants. If Drew wins, it's because he gets 30 points with his defense.
Drew, I'm just going to say it right now. Mitch gave you the game plan of what you need to do. You need to bench Dak Prescott, play Brock Purdy. Just do it, man. Just do it.
Keep your lineup as is. I want you to lose. I got to climb the ranks.
Yeah, it's all three of us are in agreement. The last thing I'll say is not only Drew having two Dallas players against San Fran, he's got George Kittle against Dallas, and Dallas is a very good defense too. So I kind of want not a whole lot to do with that game in general.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it comes down to matchups, and Josh has better matchups this week. But I do think this is the fantasy matchup of the week. This is the one I'm most excited about.
Yep.
Man, you can't. If you go 0-5, your playoff hopes really get just gutted.
It's hard. It helps that we have 6 go now.
It does.
Before, when it was only 4, it would probably be impossible. But
yeah.
6, you can come back still.
So, well, Josh, you better win. Don't stress out.
And don't text me that early.
At least do the group text so we all see it at the same time. Don't send the same text to multiple people individually.
Josh, just number one, don't be that guy who's constantly asking everyone who to play, because you're going to pick somebody that somebody didn't say. So yeah, just don't be that guy. You got to run your own team. And if you can't, then let your wife do it instead.
All right.
Hi, Abby.
Mitch, who's next?
Next, we got Steve versus Ryan and Mark.
Ooh, I want to hear Cameron's thoughts here.
Cameron, lead us off.
Yeah. So I said Ryan and Mark I thought were the third best team in the league. I think it comes down to, well, I don't want to say they don't have any weaknesses. I think every team has a weakness this year. I think their only weakness is probably Najee Harris in the flex. but they do have options on their bench, I think, that would be fine.
Hmm.
But I really, honestly, I don't have a problem starting Najee. It's just he's obviously not what he once was. You know, his rookie year when he was getting a bunch of receptions. They for whatever reason do not want to throw him the ball. It makes no sense to me. But um, I think Jalen Waddle is due to blow up, and since they have Tua, that it's just like Mark Andrews and Lamar for me. Um, I do like Steve's team, but Joe Mixon scares me tremendously. We talked about Cincinnati a couple times already, and the pass catchers like Chase, it bothers me less just because they probably are going to be down, and when they're down, they're going to throw, and when they throw, they're going to throw to Chase. Uh, I just don't see a scenario, even against Arizona, who plays way, way harder than I thought they would. I thought for sure they would tank this year. They are definitely not tanking. So I think Arizona wins the game. And I don't think that Mixon is a good running back when they're down. So I think Ryan and Mark are going to win. Again, I think they are probably the third best team in the league, and Steve will get through this.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, Cameron. I think Ryan and Mark come out with a win. Uh, I agree with you on the assessment of their team. Miami's rolling hot this year. Jalen Waddle's going to have to really open up in that offense a little bit more. There's been a little bit of struggle getting him involved, and they've shown some issues there. But you got Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones. Those are not running backs to scoff at right now. Uh, I agree on Najee Harris. I personally would probably look at playing one of the receivers they have sitting on their bench. I'm not ready to make the prediction of saying Jamison Williams is a must play or anything, but you got to think that once he gets in that offense in Detroit as another weapon, he could really open things up for them. So that could be a good play down the line. Just I'm not sure I want to roll the dice on that yet. Uh, I will say, Steve's team again. You're fighting some injuries. I think C.J. Stroud is really going to surprise some people. Uh, Chris Olave may actually have a decent kind of showing against New England. Um, I'm not sold on Mixon. I really don't like him as a running back. I think at this point in his career, him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are very similar, and I would rather not have either one of them. David Montgomery has really shown up pretty big in Detroit, so that could be a very important play to Steve having a shot this week at getting that win. But again, Steve's also in a position where he doesn't get to play some of those guys who would be stars for him. I'm pointing to Austin Eckler. Like a healthy Eckler is a must start, and he hasn't had the ability to do that this year, really. So I think Ryan and Mark continue rolling. Uh, Steve is going to probably have to make some pretty shrewd decisions going forward, and it would not surprise me to see Steve start making some trade offers, try and see what he can do to really roll this team into something. But the difference is between little Josh's team and Steve's team is that the star power is sitting there ready to go on Josh's team. I think some of those wins would have come if he just made different decisions. Steve's making those decisions out of necessity. So I think that's the difference here between those two teams. Mitch, all yours.
So, I have Ryan and Mark winning. I think Tua coming back after losing to the Buffalo Bills, coming back playing against the Giants, he's just going to light it up. I think Waddle will have a big game. He's due. And all around, they do have a really good, solid team. Steve's team, I mean, he did catch the injury bug. Looking at his team, there's just I'm going to say some bad luck. Not necessarily injury-wise, but with what just fans of the NFL, were expecting some teams to do. I thought Cameron said it pretty well with Mixon. If Cincinnati's doing well, they're moving the ball down the field in the air. Mixon's going to have good games. He will give you consistent points. That's not happening. And Steve also has T. Higgins, who I would argue should be in the lineup every single week if Cincinnati is showing up. So that's two players that was probably in Steve's top 6 picks of the draft right there that he's not able to play or not able to get good points. Eckler being down hurts. I think whenever he gets back, he'll get points out of him. Stevenson, you guys know I'm not a fan of. I've been pretty vocal about that. But that's a solid flex every single week. And you can't even play him right now because Mac Jones and the Patriots, they don't have an identity right now. They're struggling. I don't know what they need to do. So I think with Steve's team, more bad luck than injuries, and then he caught the injury bug a little bit, which doesn't help. So Steve, you just don't have enough firepower in the fight right now. If you could squeeze out a few more weeks, get lucky, maybe Cincinnati could turn it around, you might be able to be in the fight come playoffs. But I think it's going to be a struggle bus for you. I liked your team when you drafted it. It's just the way things played out. That's why your team isn't too good. I don't think it's. Well, technically, it is your fault, but I see.
Mitch.
I mean, hey, I've owned my team, right? Like my team's bad because, well, that's what I drafted. That's what I did. But I easily I would not have guessed this at the beginning of the year. I'll say that. I thought Steve's team would have been a lot better than what it's performing. So,
Yep.
Hang in there, buddy. I need you to help us beat the top people. All right. There's an argument for this being matchup of the week. So
No, there's not.
Next we have Mickey B and AJ. So AJ projected north of 100 points. Mickey B just shy of 100 points. Man, I guess I could go first.
You should.
I have a feeling.
You want me to go?
No, I'll go. Man, I don't know. I think Mickey B. Looking at these teams, honestly, okay, I'm gonna give this to Mickey B. Tyreek Hill he'll have a big week this week against Giants. Revenge game for I don't want to call it a revenge game, but a comeback game for Tua. Yeah. The Eagles and Rams game, I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Stafford will have a big game. Who he's throwing to, I don't know. Because of that high scoring game, AJ Brown is gonna get a lot of points, I think. At least might be a little biased there. Sorry, I don't like Madison. I hated that pick. Well, I guess he kept him, which I get, but I don't.
Yep.
I don't like Madison. Mike, if there's anything in your team that's awful, it's your running backs. Pierce, sure. I'm not a fan of. We'll see about Wilson. AJ, looking at your team. I don't think Barkley plays. Or he will play and he'll just get it tweaked. So maybe I'm banking on injury a little bit too. But you're going against Miami and the Giants are a mess. So I could see him not playing. And if he doesn't play, you really are in a pain. And you're going to be hoping for a shootout with Minnesota and Kansas City if you're going to be in this fight. CD Lamb against Dallas or against San Fran, sorry. So I think matchups play in Mike's favor. I just don't like some of your players. Especially with the matchups that they're going to have. Washington against Chicago. Washington defense might be your best play this week. I didn't even look at your bench.
Mitch, I'm just going to jump in here.
You see
and
this?
I'm going
You're
to
on
say,
Mickey B's team. Well, I guess most of those
Mm-hmm.
are
yep.
a lot of bye players, but I think he's going to win it anyways. So Nicky B will win. He will score north of 100 points. Not by much, though.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you. I'm going to actually say that AJ pulls out the win this weekend. I don't believe in Kirk Cousins getting 18 points against the Chiefs, but somebody's got to do something in Dallas, and CeeDee Lamb seems like a pretty good bet. I will never, ever bet against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kyron Williams has been a kind of a big surprise this year, so I kind of like the pick there. I will go ahead and say that the Robinson pick, I'm not crazy about that, but they've really kind of used him a little bit differently. It's like they're finally kind of figuring that out a bit, I guess. I personally would, if Barkley plays, I would move him up to that running back slot. And then I personally would go ahead and give a flyer to Adam Thielen or Zay Flowers in my flex, because I think that those two are both situated to make some pretty big plays going forward. Like that's going to be a strength for AJ down the line. I don't know if it'll help him too much this week, but I am going to go ahead and say that I think that Washington's defense against Chicago is going to put up more than 7.9 points. And then I agree with you entirely about Mike's team. Like Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Stafford, he's been serviceable. He's averaging right around 15 points. Don't expect anything fascinating from there. Honestly, he's playing Philly. It's probably going to be less than that. Running backs, Mike, I'll just say it. I've said it before. Your running backs are weak. Like, you might consider trying to find some trade bait there or something, but it's not pretty. So Mike is again one of those teams that's forced to make some moves because of buys or injuries. And yeah, I just don't see it. I think AJ pulls up the upset here because I think most people would probably lean towards Mike, to be honest. But you can only get so far banking on the play of a couple of stellar players. So I think that Mike gets a great week out of Tyreek Hill or AJ Brown, maybe even both. But kind of think that's it. Also, Mike, you will be punished because you are playing Las Vegas players. It's not a smart move.
No, I think you guys nailed it. I'm gonna pick AJ. The only thing that worries me about AJ is Dallas Goddard. Honestly, so long as one of Amon-Ra or Barkley play, I feel like AJ's gonna win. And
Yep.
I think Brian Robinson scores twice.
Do you?
It's against Chicago.
I don't know.
I can see it.
Yeah. There's just something about the way that Washington has been finding ways to utilize him this year. He's had some pretty big games, which I would not have expected.
Washington's playing good football this year.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just AJ's team's wide receivers are not going to beat Mike's, but they can at least compete.
Yep.
And then his running backs are better than Mike. So I'm picking AJ.
Yep. On to the next.
Ben and Orschlin.
Oh, saving yours for last?
I always do mine last.
All right.
Trust me, mine's nothing exciting.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start this off then. Mitch's team will lose this week. Next question. My matchup.
Do you want to do my game first? We can do that.
No.
Okay.
No, we're gonna do yours. After. So my team versus Andrew Orschlin's. I'm gonna actually boil this down to the simplest question. Who has the better quarterback? I'm waiting.
I thought that was a rhetorical question.
Nope, that's an actual question. Who has the better quarterback? It's me.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm looking at what I've lined up this week. I finally have Alvin Kamara back. I'm not saying he's going to be great, but against New England, yeah, I think he can put up 12 points. I'm kind of in a weird position where I'm actually playing Khalil Herbert. Not crazy about that, but he definitely did change some things up this past week. He finally had that big game that I thought he could have and sat on my bench. So I'm not happy about that. But I think that my team, when I compare it to Andrews, yes, I'm projected to score less. I'm going to choose me because I think that, yes, Jordan Love and Christian Watson could connect for some points. But I think the other side of the coin here is that Andrew has been banking on the power of Josh Jacobs, who has only broken double digits once this year. I again point to that really stellar performance in week 2, where Josh Jacobs carried the ball 9 times for -2 yards. I don't believe in Las Vegas's offense at all. I think that's a joke. So please, Josh Jacobs, Andrew, prove me wrong. But I'm not buying it. Andrew's got some decent points, but I think that some things are going to bite him in the butt here. Like playing Cincinnati's defense against Arizona, it sounds good on paper, but realistically, Cincy hasn't been able to figure out a whole lot. So they've gotten 0 points this year. They've gotten 11 points. So it's unpredictable. I think that's the big problem with Andrew's team. Yes, he's 3-1. I think it's a very weak 3-1. I don't think Devontae Smith's going to have a big game. I think that it's going to be an A.J. Brown game. DeAndre Swift, yeah, I could see another big game there. But again, I got to love what I have. I think I've got a steal in Nico Collins right now. So I'm really excited to play that this week. Also, Pacheco showed up last week, and he showed up big. So I think Pacheco's finally showing what he can actually do. Chiefs are going to lean into that. I think it's going to make a big difference. So I think I pull it out, but I think it's going to be another photo finish like it was against Taylor. Probably a 1-point win.
North of 100
1
points?
point win.
You
Huh?
think you're going to get above 100 points?
No, I don't think either team gets above 100.
So if I recall correctly, Andrew might be able to play Cup this week.
Yeah.
So
You know who he would? Do you know who he would have been able to play if he drafted correctly?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Hey, to defend Andrew, 10 other teams passed on Tyreek too. So went all the way to pick 11 for Tyreek to get picked. I'll jump in. I like both your teams. I'm having a hard time, but Cup does swing the needle for me. I think Andrew's going to win. I think that I'm a I'm a little worried that Josh Allen is not going to do what he did last week. They're in London. That scares me a little bit. And Jacksonville has looked pretty terrible. So I don't know if they're going to throw. I think they're going to run. And I think James Cook on Andrew's team probably busts a long one. So I think that Andrew wins by double digits. Sorry, Ben.
Here, I'll throw another hot take for you because the matchup. Look at the tight ends. Our tight ends are actually playing in the same game. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there that Dalton Kincaid finishes with more fantasy points than Evan Ingram. That's another hot take I have for you.
It happened.
Guys, I'm flinging them out there. You gotta give me something here, Mitch. Speak.
So I'm gonna pick against Andrew. I've been picking for him past couple weeks. I think right now with how, I mean, yeah, you add Cooper Cup, we'll see. I'll be curious to see how much they utilize him now that they got Puka in the mix, because they're going to keep using him, but they won't need to run Cup to the ground like they did before. I am curious to see how well that team is going to operate with both those guys on the field. That could just be very dangerous. Another reason why I think Stafford's going to have a big game this week in the other matchup. The Love Watson. I think if they blow up and have a big game, you win. I just don't think it's going to happen. So Jacobs, not a fan of. Just not. Swift, that has to be probably your best player right now. It's a surprise. As an Eagles fan and how they just utilize their running backs, they hit gold whenever they traded for him last year. If Swift keeps doing that, you'll be in the fight all year. I don't think that's going to last. Could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because that means good things for the Eagles. But I think your team with Love and Watson right there, you're banking on a lot. But if they connect with 2 touchdowns apiece to each other, you'll win. I think that's what it's going to take to beat Ben this week. Ben Kamara, I think he's only going to get better and better playing against New England, who's a struggling team. This is a good game for him to come back and have a big game. Pacheco, I'm a fan. He runs the ball like he's going to destroy whatever he runs into. I think I just enjoy watching
He's
that.
he's the weirdest runner I've ever seen in my life, and he looks so slow.
Yep.
He looks
He's
awkward.
a little pinball machine is what he is. It's like the guy actually speeds up after getting hit. I don't know how to explain him. I love it. Absolutely love it. I can't say I've been this happy about a Chiefs running back in a while, but I do enjoy watching him. It is a lot of fun to watch him play. So happy to have him on the team.
So I think it's going to be a close game, but Ben, I do think Ben's going to win. So
1 point finish, baby. Mitch, let's get to the matchup that really everyone's all talking about. This is the one that we've all been waiting for. It's the Mama's Boys versus Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yep.
Rob and Mitch versus Clark. I've been so excited to talk about this.
Well,
because look at it.
I'll start. I think I did this last week, and I just immediately was like, yeah, I'm going to lose. So first, Clark, hope you're doing well. If I understand correctly, you had surgery earlier this week, so
Yep.
hope you're doing well. Love you, brother.
Yep, speedy recovery, bud.
In terms of fantasy football, hope you ribcage it. Sorry. I need a win. I think I broke Ben.
Yep, that was. I did not expect that.
It's just the brotherly love with fantasy football. It's like we care about each other, but when it comes to our matchups, no, we help the other people.
I love you.
Wreck it.
Kick you in the nuts.
Or tear your ACL, right?
I know. That is my line, and it's reserved for Taylor Swift right now,
geez.
okay?
So, looking at this, I mean, I think overall my team is better. I think a lot of it's going to bank on if Jonathan Taylor does play this week. If Jonathan Taylor plays this week, apparently he could have played a couple weeks ago from what I'm hearing. But if he plays this week, I think I'll just outbeat Clark. I think my team is just better. It's not going to be a blowout by any means. I mean, my team isn't great. They're streaky. Kirk has had some big games, and he's put up like 1 or 2 burgers. It just depends on if that passing game gets going. But he's somebody that just gets, if he's hot, he'll have 9 receptions in a game. Puka, that's going to be determined. I mean, he gets me a lot of receptions. Don't know what's going to happen if Cup's back. Mahomes, I think he's going to light it up against Minnesota. Unless T Swift is in the stands somewhere. Shaheed from New Orleans, he's been a consistent player. He's been on my bench. I picked him up a handful of weeks ago. He'll get me somewhere between 6 to 10 points. I don't expect anything big from him. Sanders, not a fan of, but that's what I got. I'm not gonna lie. And then San Fran D against Dallas, they're gonna score north of 15 points this week. So it's not that Clark's team is like bad. My team's just a little bit better. Rob and I will win, but we won't score 100 points.
Yeah, I've been staring at this whole time. I think I've changed my mind about 3 times. I think I'm gonna pick Mitch, and I'm gonna say it's because of your 2 best players being better than his 2 best players. And right now, your second best player, until I see Jonathan Taylor, is probably
Mm-hmm.
Puka. So I feel like Mahomes and Puka is better than Debo and Henry. I think that's what it comes down to me. So I pick Mitch.
Oh gosh. Well, guys, I can't just let this stand and agree with you. That would be boring. So I gotta do the right thing. And Matt Clarkey, since you are in fact a cripple this week, I'm gonna look down on you like Tiny Tim in A Christmas Carol, and I'm gonna take pity on you. I'm gonna take the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that Debo gets some serious work this week. Dallas is going to be game planning for Christian McCaffrey. I think that's going to be the main focus after that monster game last week. They're going to have to zero in on that. So I think that Debo gets some serious action. Pickens, I think, gets a lot thrown his way this week because Baltimore's leading that division now, baby. And if Pittsburgh wants to make a real shot at it, they know their run game isn't going to cut it. So I think Pickens has a pretty decent week here in a division rivalry game. Derrick Henry against Indianapolis. I've never been high on Derrick Henry, but do I think he gets double digits? Yeah, big whoop. I think James Conner is actually primed to have a pretty big week because, again, Mitch, you've talked some serious trash on Cincy, and if we're buying into that, then Arizona might be the upset of the week here. Personally, I actually like the tight end position for Clark. Hunter Henry has had some stupid games for New England. So it would not surprise me to see him get at least like one garbage time touchdown or something. If I have to pick anybody to actually do something on the Raiders, you're going to pick Devontae Adams, but right after that, I'd bet on Jacoby Myers because I still say Josh Jacobs is trash. Moody as the kicker, 8 points? No, sir. Double digits. That game's going to be a double-digit kicker game just because if it goes the way I think, San Francisco is going to maybe not be pushing, putting the feet on the gas pedal. I think they may be taking some field goals in the fourth quarter instead of pushing for the touchdown. That kind of game. Mitch, I don't know what to make of Jonathan Taylor. I think you're right about Miles Sanders. I actually think Puka is probably your second best player on your team right now, other than Mahomes. So I think Mahomes is what carries you if you do win. I actually think Puka still gets the majority of the targets and the action because Cooper Kupp returns doesn't mean he's 100% on the field. Like playing, they may ease him back in. It might not be a big week for him. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what the Rams are going to do with those two players. It's a very unique dynamic.
It really is. I will remind you, though, that that's exactly what people were saying. Was that last year when Allen Robinson went to the Rams and he got zero use? Like, it was just atrocious to watch and be a fantasy owner of him. So there's a chance that one of them basically gets relegated back to nothing. So I hope that's not the case, but I will say, Mitch, I think the defense is going to be a stellar play for you this week. And Hawkinson is probably a sneaky play. I don't know if you've been watching too much of the Chiefs games on defense, but the Chiefs have been without Nick Bolton, starting linebacker for our team. And, that kind of softens up what we can do in terms of coverage. So Hawkinson could be a very, very sneaky play for Minnesota, more so than Jefferson, even in terms of points at the end of the day. So I would not be surprised to see a big game from Hawkinson, but I still going to lean in, take Clark as the winner, maybe by like 2 points.
Yeah, with Hawkinson. I mean, so you have a lot of tight ends in the league. Like, all right, you get 10 points out of them. That's a win. Hawkinson, yeah, you get that. That's still a win. Hawkinson just has the potential, like Kelsey or Andrews. He might put up a 20 or 25 for you, just because of the talent and the team that they're on. So, obviously open for that. Okay, so those were the matchups. We are deep into this episode, but we're not done yet. We're gonna kind of spit fire these next things. We're gonna try to go pretty quick. First, what I want to do, since Cameron is on this episode this week, I'm gonna bring up his team again. And Ben, if I recall, you and I both had him as the best team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna bring this up. Where you at, Cameron?
Scott's Tots number 3.
Just real quick. In your own words, Ben, why does Cameron have the best team?
Christian McCaffrey. That's it. That's it. I don't really feel like I have to say more. Like, it's the best running back. Realistically, at some point, he could be considered the best receiver too. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey can do everything. It's impossible to game plan your defense around him because he's just so versatile. So Christian McCaffrey to me is a huge part of Cameron's success. I love the Jordan Addison pick. I think that's solid. A good trade to go get Devontae. Like I said, if I have to pick anybody from the Raiders, Devontae's the guy. And if, the rumors are true that Devontae's not happy there, maybe they trade him and, I don't know, he ends up somewhere even better. I don't know.
Like Kansas City?
I do think that,
God.
you know what? That would be so beautiful to me because go ahead and just predict this reaction to me. Orscheln wakes up in the morning and sees Devontae Adams is traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Does Andrew then have to burn his Devontae jersey?
He won't do that. But he might be inclined to get a Swiftie jersey. Not gonna lie, I've been considering it. So, Cameron, I mean, I've been said it, and I mentioned earlier too. Christian McCaffrey, if he keeps at this pace, especially at this pace, your team hands alone, because he will carry your team plus some. You have a mean wombo combo with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. That team, Baltimore, probably one of the most injured riddled teams in the league, and they're finding ways to win. And I think that connection between those two is only going to get better. I just think your team, you have a really good team, a solid team. It's a team I don't want to play any given week. Having Devontae Adams right there any given week, he could be the best wide receiver in the league. A lot of it's just going to depend on what's happening there in Las Vegas. But even with a bad team, he's getting points. So I'm going to keep it that simple. And Jamar Gibbs, he's going to later in the year, he's going to start giving you some more points too. Nothing crazy, but he's going to be a good RB2 for you. Better than what he is now.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like my team. I'll play devil's advocate real quick. My team is obviously Christian McCaffrey makes a big difference. And when Lamar and Andrews connect, it's great. outside of that, leaving the draft, I knew it was already a stretch to have Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver one. But my thought was that Jahan Dotson was going to take a step forward. That's why I kept him. He'd be my wide receiver two. Turns out that didn't happen. Deontay gets hurt week one, and I'm stuck with a bunch of rookies and Chris Godwin, who has,
He finally had 1 week.
He
to
struggled.
me, not he's not really looked like himself, honestly. Not even just the fact that he's not producing. He's not commanding targets, and he used to. So that worries me a little bit that his injury a year and a half ago, whatever it was, is still going to affect him for the rest of his career. So
Yep.
my strategy going in this year, I will say, was once I found out I had the first pick, I was pretty confident I was going to take McCaffrey. And then I was really frustrated when I looked at every other team and their keepers, and I had none. I mean, I thought Dotson was going to be something. It didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can tell, my team is top heavy with McCaffrey, Adams, Jackson, and Andrews, and then it's a bunch of rookies. I just drafted as many rookies as I could, especially
Mm-hmm.
wide receivers. Uh, so for me, honestly, to think for me to win this year, I'm going to have one of those wide receivers, if not multiple of those rookie wide receivers, take a step forward in the second half, like Quentin Johnston and Jordan Addison. Addison got me 0 last week.
Yep.
So obviously injuries and things like that happen too. And if McCaffrey's going to touch the ball this much, he is not going to play 17 games. I just got to hope that he only misses 3 and not 10.
He doesn't miss the games in the times that you need him the most.
Yeah, you're right. So I do like my team. I think it's got a framework that's okay and a potential, hopefully, that some of these players can take a step forward. So,
all right. All right. Next, who is most likely going to win this year that has not already won a championship?
I'll go first. It's little Josh. I brought it up a couple times. I don't think that's going to be a surprise. I think the Eagles are still finding their identity.
They are.
And I watching Jalen Hurts play this year has been a little bit of a struggle, but he's still awesome.
Yeah.
And they still push him in the butt to push him into the end zone. And he's going to do that once a week at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like little Josh has the most complete team. He also has a lot of upside with guys like Achan that we've talked about already. So 0-4, you only got to get to 6. And if I am in the playoffs and I got to play Josh week 1, I don't think I'm going to want to do that. So I think little Josh has the best chance.
Well, that made it really easy because I agree. I agree for all the same reasons. Like, look, little Josh's team, yes, it's the bottom of the barrel in terms of wins right now. But again, I said it a while ago. It's yes, he's 0-4. But if you go and plug in other players into those games, Josh wins those games. So it's just a matter of figuring out which guys to play. And you go look at his bench right now. Yes, he's got, was it Cameron Achane?
I think so. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. You've got him sitting there. He is very clearly a stud. Raheem Mostert is nothing to scoff at either. Tyler Algier, he's had some big moments for Atlanta. And I'll say it right now. If there is such a thing as a consistent receiver in Kansas City's offense, it's Rashee Rice. Like, I promise you, when we get to playoffs, there's a good chance Rashee Rice is probably one of the biggest factors in that offense at that point. The guy just needs more experience and more time. That's it. So I would bet on those things. Like, you can't convince me that Jamar Chase is not a top tier receiver. He is. since he just has to figure something out. I don't know what. I would love to say that Javonte Williams is a stellar play on paper. I think he should be one of the top tier running backs. Just he can't stay healthy, and well, Denver sucks. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but I think that Josh's team is literally a list of great players who just can't put it together. That's it.
I think just that what you said right there is why this team will not win. Cincinnati, I think I said it earlier with Jamar Chase. He's gonna be a streaky player. He'll have some big games, but he's not gonna give you the consistent points that you would expect out of him. My pick has been it's your team. That is the team that I'm picking. I think Pacheco is a big surprise. Like, it's not a surprise that he's doing good. I think how well he's doing is a big surprise. Mike Evans, if he's healthy, holy snap! Like, dude, I wouldn't have predicted that. That was a steal. And then Keenan
Yeah.
Allen's doing good this year too. Both players could have issues with injuries. I know they're on a bye this week, but those are two players. I mean, they're not in your lineup this week because they're on a bye. And
Yep.
I still picked you to win. You do have depth because right now you have Nico Collins doing good, and you have Calvin Ridley. Any given week, he could blow up. He's a home run hitter. Your weakest part is your tight end, but you have a tight end on a high-powered offense that any given week he gets you points. So I just think all around, Ben, your team is way more consistent, and so far we've seen that. The weeks that you've lost has been because of stupid stuff. Defense is getting
We'll
bad
see.
points. So I think it's your team. As long as Josh Allen doesn't get gassed at the end of the year, I think your team just all around is better than Little Josh's. Little Josh, his team can be really good. I think he kind of had some bad luck, kind of like Steve, not nearly as bad as Steve, because Little Josh's team is performing. But I think the way that Cincinnati's playing, the Jamar Chase is hurting him a lot, and it's just his team is inconsistent, and he has a tough road ahead. Your team, I think, will easily get to the top 6. Little Josh, he has to fight for it. And if he just has even just some more bad luck, by the time his team gets rolling, it might be too late. So
You're
That's
the
fair.
other team that came to my mind too, Ben. Yeah, I would agree.
Here's hoping, boys. I did tell you guys at the beginning of the season that looking at my team, I think that they make the playoffs. I think they make it as like that 5 or 6 spot. I don't think my team's ever going to be in the number 1 spot, like number 1 seed. I don't think that happens, but do I think they can make playoffs? Yeah. And then I'm hoping that, again, we've seen how playoffs, it's a whole nother season. Anything goes. It's win or lose every single game. So I just hope that my team can give me some of those wins when they really matter. History indicates otherwise.
all right. Favorite fantasy football player of all time that you guys have ever had. Cameron, I want to start with you.
Antonio Gates. When I first joined the league, I remember taking Antonio Gates. I think it was 2 years in a row with my first pick. I think one of those years I was third overall. I love Antonio Gates. He was awesome, caught a lot of touchdowns, and he was like the slowest person that's ever stepped on a football field. So, Antonio Gates.
Ben?
Does it have to be a player that I have had on my team?
I would prefer it, but I'll say no.
All right. No, I'll give you players that I have actually drafted. I gotta go Jamal Charles, baby. I always pulled too hard to go get Jamal Charles, but that guy to me was always so much fun to watch. I always think back to that one game against Vegas where he had 5 touchdowns in a single game. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Like, as a Chiefs fan, you go turn that clip on, you watch those highlights, you cry. It's so beautiful. It's just so nice. But I will say, one of my favorite fantasy performances. It's got to be Tyler Thigpen when Andrew drafted him and played him. It was so amazing. I've never seen a quarterback both catch a ball and run a ball into the end zone. A quarterback. That's just unheard of. They had a lot of fun considering how terrible our team was. Just watching that performance, that was something else. So it's cool to see a major underdog delivering like that. So great performance. Never going to see that again because, well, you're never going to see Tyler Thigpen again. I'm still going to go get me a Thigpen jersey one day.
You should.
It's going to happen.
Hey, I got myself a Nick Foles jersey. I mean, there's just magic. I had to do it. So you should definitely get yourself a Tyler Thigpen jersey.
Yeah.
Mine, it would have to be Marquise Colston. I mean, whenever I picked him up off waivers and they were to play him as a tight end.
Yep. Such bullcrap.
Still have nightmares.
That was I had like easily the best team in the league by far, destroyed everybody, and then championship had my worst week and lost. So be it. But no, Marcus Colston, man, that was something. So
broke fantasy.
Yeah, no, he did. All right, favorite fantasy football moment of all time.
Yeah, I'll start. I've been on Team Orscheln this whole time because you guys are anti-Orscheln here. So, but my memory has to do with Andrew, and I actually think I got two. An honorable mention that I think was against Andrew as well. Honorable mention, I picked up Marvin Jones when he still played for Cincinnati Bengals. I picked him up Sunday morning at like 11:45 because I had no one else to start. Got 4 touchdowns, and I beat Andrew. I'm pretty sure it was against Andrew. I'm pretty sure. But what I know was against Andrew was my favorite memory. Mohamed Sanu playing for the Falcons. I was desperate yet again for a wide receiver. Had no one to turn to. Already had Julio Jones on my team. I look at the waiver wire and there's no one around except Sanu, and it's like I really don't want to start 2 Atlanta Falcon wide receivers, but I'm going to do it. And then wouldn't you know, Sanu in the Wildcat from about the 50-yard line catches the ball, throws it directly straight up into the air. It comes down right in front of the end zone into Julio Jones' hands. Falls in the end zone. I get a double touchdown, and I think I beat Andrew by not very much that week. Like, very little. I mean, that was the difference in our matchup. So, that I still think about that. I love that.
Man.
You know the great thing? I'm going to follow this up. The great thing is that both of those involved Andrew, and I'm going to go ahead and continue that because my moment involves Andrew as well.
Poor guy. Mine won't, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I was playing Andrew. It was, I want to say in high school. I think it was the 06-07 season. And Jeff Wilkins was the kicker for the St. Louis Rams. And he set a franchise record with 6 field goals to win 18-10 over the Broncos. And 18 points, well, our field goals, you get more points the farther the field goal is. So Jeff Wilkins finished with over 30 points that day and got me the win over Andrew. And to this day, this is why Andrew still hates kickers.
Wow.
So it's got to be one of my most proud moments. But the fact that I used, at the time, his favorite team to beat him with the kicker, and in the process, the Broncos lost. Also a great day for me. So many beautiful things on one single event. It was so wonderful. I hope that happens again someday.
Nothing like beating Andrew with a kicker.
Right?
Mine would have to be this whenever I won the championship. This was over 10 years ago. I went back and looked at the standings. So I made the playoffs. This is whenever we had a 10-man league. Top 4 people made the playoffs. I made the playoffs, 4th seed at 7-7. I had to play against Steve's team, who was undefeated going into the playoffs. I remember, like, I kept saying, I'm like, you're banking on those Saints. They have that one bad game, it's over. Well, they had the one bad game against me. So then I beat Steve, and I made it to the championship game, and the championship game was against my brother. And it was cool to play against him. I beat him, so that was great. So I got to beat an undefeated team going in the playoffs, all against me, and then to beat my brother. And then with icing on the top, you guys know how I never, like, I do my best not to get my Eagle player, especially early. If I get an Eagles player, I get it late. Guess who was my quarterback that won it for me? This was 09.
Nick Foles.
09.
Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb. He was my quarterback. So that's probably my favorite fantasy moment, just the series of those events. So Steve's team, it's one of those. He had the best team that year. Is insane. He just banked a lot on one team, and it was bad luck. But that was a year that Steve definitely could have won. So, okay, we're gonna wrap up with one final thing, real quick. Ben, starting with you, top 3 team, your NFL power rankings, 1, 2, and 3. Who's 3? Who's 2? Who's 1? Go.
3 Kansas City Chiefs. 2 Miami Dolphins. Number 1 San Fran.
Cameron.
There you go.
3 Baltimore Ravens. 2 Dallas Cowboys. 1 San Fran.
These are all going to be different. So 3, I have the Eagles. I have the Eagles at 3. Number 2, I have the Bills. And then number 1, I got San Fran.
Well, at least we all agree on 1.
Yeah, we all do agree on 1.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Long episode. Hour and 40 minutes-ish. Cameron, thanks for joining us on this episode. I know.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was fun. Way past my bedtime.
I think it's past all of our bedtimes. So, But yeah, Cameron, thanks for joining. We appreciate it. Makes these a lot of fun. Longer, but a lot of fun. Happy to have you on. As always, for those watching, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you all next week.